In July 2024, I decided to challenge myself to write every single day for a month. Over the course of 31 days, I made some surprising discoveries about myself as a fiction writer. I want to share these weird and wonderful discoveries with you today because I'm convinced that if that's what happened to me, it might happen to someone out there too. Let's dive in. So my first discovery was that habit building, in this case, the daily writing habit, it built that habit within a week. Okay, now this habit has lasted way beyond the full 31 days of the month. Okay, so when I don't write for a day or two, my body kind of goes, "Are you okay? I think you need to write." So it kind of gives me that hint. Anyway, I discovered that building a habit sometimes doesn't take as long as we think. Often it takes 1 or 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks. But in this case, with a daily writing habit, I found that because I was doing it every single day, I built the habit within a week, basically. Now, the second interesting thing was that because of the daily writing habit, this built momentum. Okay, so the more I wrote, the more I wanted to write because I was getting ahead, the story and the word count were getting ahead. It was like a positive feedback loop, so it's like the opposite of a vicious cycle. But basically, the daily writing habit built momentum, and that momentum carried me further and further and further, right? So that was really interesting for me to discover. Now, this third one was really interesting for me, and I discovered what sort of writer I am. Now, I have written non-fiction books, and I love my plotting. I have a really clear plot, really clear outline, and I kind of shift things around if I need to as a kind of developmental edit kind of thing, high level stuff, right? I'm really into plotting. But when I got into fiction writing, this the hacker that I'm writing right now, a thriller, I discovered that I'm actually what some people refer to as a headlight writer. So it's a cross between a pantser and a plotter, kind of thing. It's like I write up to a point, and then I've got to kind of think about things and then plot it out a little bit more and see how I'll go next. Okay, so it's really interesting. I didn't realize that's what I would be like for when I was transitioning between nonfiction and fiction. I thought, because I like plotting with my nonfiction, I will be a plotter. I'd be like, yeah, this is gonna be a plotting thing. I'm gonna outline everything. It's gonna be great. And it turned out that although the outline was there, I just never stuck to it. I always ended up taking a little detour here, a little sidetrack here, and a little rabbit hole there. And then I would get to the next point where, oh, what happens after this? And I would have to take a break. Anyway, I discovered that I'm not that kind of I'm not a plotter. I'm not 100% plotter. I'm also not 100% pantser. I'm like a cross of in between those two as a fiction writer. By the way, if any of these sound really interesting to you and you're enjoying these discoveries that I'm making, and if you resonate with any of these or not, boop the like button anyway, so you let me know. So point number 4, that was really weird for me anyway, was that ideas flowed more easily, much more readily. So the more I wrote, the easier the ideas came to me. It was really weird, it was unexpected, but a really pleasant surprise. So at the start, when I first started writing at the start of the month of July, it was really weird. Ideas just always struggled to come to me. It wasn't flowing, but within like a few days of like consistent writing and building up that habit and building up the momentum, these ideas kind of just flowed a bit better. So I think my learning from here is that if you want to get ideas, you need to be in the thick of it. You gotta write. You gotta live and breathe it a bit. So you can't just be like, I'll write 5 words here, leave it for 50 days, and then come back and I'll write 2 words and I'll get a great idea. It doesn't work like that. You got to consistently do something, in this case writing, consistently do the writing, and then as the story progresses, hopefully you get more ideas. And that's what I found. Really, really pleasant surprise. Now, my final point that I want to share with you was that I discovered a bit of my personal writing style, and this is something that we can only do when we are writing. It's not something you can do before you write. It's not something you do after. You discover during. So you have to be in the process. So I discovered my personal writing style, which is basically a minor edit along the way suits me best. Okay. Now I know this is not how everyone does it. I get that. I get it. But this suits me because I don't do like the full plotting thing with a fiction. Clearly, I also don't do the full write the first dirty draft or messy draft or the puke it out draft. I don't do that either, because I've written nonfiction before, and this method definitely doesn't work for me. Like the messy draft kind of first draft kind of thing, it doesn't work. But what I found out was, as I was writing a scene, basically I had this bad guy who was disguised in a bird watching outfit in order to do some reconnaissance, right? He's spying on people, right? And I put him in a bird watching outfit in London. And then, my book coach Emma was like, well, you realize there's not many birds to watch in London. I was like, yeah, that's a good point. Anyway, I tried to rejig it as best I could. I tried to cover the plot hole with a band-aid. It didn't work. It needed a major rewrite. But basically, I ended up deleting 5,000 plus words, right? Like over 5,000 words had to be deleted. Anyway, in short, I prefer to minor edit along the way so that I can catch these things before it blows up too much. So I don't mind losing words. I don't. But having lost over 5,000, I would prefer to lose, a few hundred, maybe even 1,000 or 1,000 plus. So the damage is minimized and it's limited, rather than losing 5,000 and having to rewrite it. Can you imagine if you got to the end of the book? Or for me anyway, if I get to the end of the book and it's like 80,000 words, and I realize, in the first or maybe the first 5,000 words, I'm like, this story doesn't quite gel. And then I've got the rest of the 75,000 words to worry about. That's a nightmare for me. Anyway, bottom line is I like to do minor edits along the way so that I know the story works and it's progressing well. So in case you're wondering, for those who like numbers and figures, in case you're wondering, I started the challenge of writing every single day for a month in July 2024. The starting word count, because I had already got the story kind of going, it wasn't a daily habit or anything, it was just kind of in the background. Anyway, the starting word count was 30,378 words. At the end of July, it was at 61,686 words. So that's a net of 31,308 words written for all of July, right? So some days I wrote less, some other days I wrote a bit more, but on average, I wrote 1,009 words per day. The story isn't done yet as of September 6th today, 6th of September. It's not done yet, so I'm still writing several times a week, albeit no longer writing daily. But at least it's consistent, so I write every day or every other day at least, and I'm confident the story is going to see the finish line soon enough. Starting out your self-publishing journey right now, I suggest you check out this video where I share 6 completely free self-publishing resources that I wish I had when I first started. Or if you've already got a book or a few books out and you want to get reviews the legit way, I got you covered. Check out this playlist right here. Don't forget, hit that like button. I'll see you there.